going on, guys? It's Cryptic TMD and I'm back with a brand new video. This time it's the AOR GT3 Elite Championship Season 10 Round 1 from Sonoma Raceway. Probably not my greatest of tracks, and I think it's the first time I've done Sonoma in AOR, period. But my pace was sort of up and down in practice. I'm not going to say I was mad confident or I thought I'd be at the back, but definitely pace was up and down. Couldn't really find any consistency, but still hoping for a podium, hoping to get a good start and hopefully not bottle qualifying like I normally do. But yeah, it's going to be tricky because obviously now for AOR you've got the mandatory pit stop, which means you don't actually have to change tyres, but you do at some stage of the race have to stop. It cannot be on the end of the formation lap, and it has to be 5 laps before the end. So yeah, obviously interesting to have a little bit more strategy, but this is my best qualifying lap and I'll be back after this. Yeah, so as you can see we ended up in 4th place, which was pretty poor. I wasn't really that disappointed with the position, but I was really disappointed with the lap time, considering it's like over a second slower than what we were doing in practice. I think my best lap in practice was a 28.5 in the Lambo, so it was a little bit strange, wasn't too sure, but something was going on definitely with the frame rate. I noticed as I was going into turn 1, it seemed to sort of just turn into PS3 graphics or something, and I think it did happen throughout the race a little bit. I'm not sure if it was connection issue or just what it was like when there was more people in the lobby, but yeah, as per usual, we're on the formation lap, manual roll and start for AOR, and I switched it to lean fuel mix because when I did my evaluation race I realised the fuel was pretty tight, so I thought I'd switch it to lean this time. Obviously starting in 4th, the first few corners are pretty tight. I mean, I'm not sure if the first corner is actually the left-hander or the right-hander, but there definitely is an advantage to being on the inside to the left-hand kink, because you just seem to understeer wide when you're on the side that I'm on. So I sort of wanted to get a good start and get onto the left-hand side of the track as quick as possible. But CJ leading the way from the front, then I think it's the Goonie and then Big Prenter. So yeah, managed to get a decent start. As I said, moved straight away to the left-hand side of the track. And at this point I was pretty comfortable, and you see the Goonie running wide there, so I thought I might have a chance to get around the outside because I was pretty sure my race pace would be still pretty good. At this point I thought I'd have the move done, but he actually brakes a lot later than me, and just as I go to turn in here, you can't see it properly there, but he gets a little bit of a snap overstay, he catches it, and that pushes us off wide. We tried to get back on the track and then boom, hit again. At this point I was a little bit pissed. And then again, come through this section, pushed off again, and I believe that last one was lag, and you can see at the moment we got like 6% damage. And yeah, as we replay it now, going through the first turn, and then we're coming up to where the first sector split is. You can see the Goonie gets ahead, and then he seems to get a little bit of a wiggle as we go to turn in, and just pushes us off track. Obviously accidental, but this one, at first I thought it was the Porsche, but it was Marty NVR and the AMG really just sort of throwing out the inside, which is, I don't know, on lap 1 is a bit crazy, and then you see the lag incident with the other Porsche, which is just like, oh, like, come on, dude. Like, and I'll show you from Marty's point of view now. I think he starts on a soft tyre, so he was trying to make up as many positions, but this move right here, he's like way behind, and it's just too risky to be doing on lap 1, to be honest. Of the first race of the season, it's just pure contact that's getting more damage than what you need. So we join back to the footage, and I'm sort of trying to get back on track. I'm almost down to last place, but there's a couple people behind me, and yeah, already the race is sort of gone as bad a start as I think I've had. We're already about 7-8 seconds behind the leader, so me looking for a podium now is definitely going to be hard, especially with this 6% damage. So at this point I'm thinking, do you know what, I'm just going to have to pit early and get some free air, because I'm right down the back of the field and I've got damage. So I need to sort of get in and out of the pits, and the later I leave it, then the less time I'm going to have to make up the gap. And then a massive crash on the back straight, and the car that was in the air completely took my attention. I didn't even see the Mercedes. I totally was looking at the car, flipping in the air, thinking, where's this guy about to land? So yeah, after that we had like, was that 34 damage? It was just all over. So I had to make sure I got my pit crew out, because if I'd have went into the pits and they weren't there, I would have been fuming, because I would have had to drive around the track again, and then I probably would have been a lap down by that time. So yeah, bad start, probably the worst start I've ever had, I think. Driving standards for elite for me personally, need to be a lot better on the first lap of a race. You know, on PS4 this is supposed to be the elite tier, so we need to have a little look on how we're driving on the first lap of the race. But anyway, you can see it's a long pit stop. This is supposed to be a pit stop that's supposed to take maximum sort of 3-second stop time, but instead we're in the pits for like, we're stopped for about 20 seconds. And yeah, managed to just get out ahead of the Audi that was behind us. So I think he came to the pits a little bit behind us, so you can imagine how long our pit stop was. And you can see on the other side of the track, those are the leaders going through the S's. They're already coming up towards sort of near the last corner, and we're just leaving the pits. So in my head I was thinking, oh great, like I'm in 12th place. Just to get some points at this moment in time is going to be a struggle. Obviously I'm sure people are going to make mistakes, there's going to be crashes, so you kind of just got to just get your head down and just race. But this definitely, I knew for me, was going to be a very lonely race, and I thought if I can replicate my pace, my best pace from practice, which was sort of 28.9s, I think was the fastest lap I managed to do in practice. But even if I could keep it in like the low to mid 29s, and I was still pretty confident I could probably get a podium if I could just keep it on the track and not make any mistakes. But as per usual, one thing I have noticed about as I actually left my fuel mix on normal, I didn't even realise I put it to normal when I went into the pits, so I had to flick it back up to rich. But as per usual, when there's a lot more cars on track, it seems the grip levels are just a bit different. They definitely seem a lot different. So yeah, there wasn't as much grip as I anticipated, or definitely not as much grip as there was in practice. As you can see, as I go into that corner and the back end's just trying to slide out, and I can tell you in practice that corner car was planted, never a problem. So I already knew I couldn't push the car as much as I would have wanted to, or I didn't have the confidence to. So yeah, ended up being some way off the pace of what we were doing before, but still, if it was like that for me, I'd probably like that for everybody else. So technically I shouldn't really be losing out anything, but I definitely think from now on when I practice, I'm going to try and practice with a lot more cars in the lobby, so we sort of get the real life effect of what the race is going to feel like. Because I feel like when you practice with sort of 2 or 3 people, the track seems to have the maximum amount of grip, and it just doesn't really represent the race conditions. But as you can see now, lap 8 going on to lap 9, we're just pushing. We're like a minute and 9 seconds off the lead, so we're not that far from being a lap down in a minute. And yeah, it was just one of the races where you just got to try and focus. And as I say that, you see me dropping it at the last corner, and that was pretty much my biggest like self-made mistake. back end seemed to come round, and I wanted to shift to first gear earlier, but I could see that if I did, I definitely would have completely spun the car. So yeah, very lonely race. Just sort of me just plugging along, trying to just do the lap times to get me up the field. And at first I didn't feel like I was doing enough. I was thinking 30.9s, why am I so slow? Why am I so slow when at least I should be doing mid 29s? But it's just grip levels just always feel different, man. I didn't think I was driving particularly badly. I was making up time on the guys in front, but obviously with that massive pit stop that I had, it was sort of, I didn't really think I'd end up anywhere near sort of the podium, but I would just try anyway, and just see where it would get me. I was sure I'd end up sort of at least in the points, which I am at the moment, 10th position. And yeah, very difficult race. And I was looking at my tyres thinking, wow, my tyres are just they just look destroyed. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't know whether that was affecting my lap times, or whether because I had a few incidents, whether that knocked some wear out of my tyres or whatever. But it's just the pace I was expecting just never seemed to be there. We weren't lapping slowly. We were probably about at this time maybe the third quickest car on track, but still a lot slower than what I was expecting. But as I said, very lonely race, and when you get into races like this, it's very easy to feel like just giving up or not sort of pushing to your maximum. But with the mandatory pit stops, you never know what's going to happen, so you kind of got to still just push on as hard as you can. You see the frame rate gets dodgy in turn 1 again. It was, I don't know what all that was about. But yeah, definitely every time I went to turn 1, I was thinking, why is this game just going weird? I don't understand. And you can see us now, we just forwarded a bunch of laps forward, because to be honest, it was literally just me just driving by myself. And there's the Goonie, the guy we had the incident with on the first lap, and we've got past him. He must have had some sort of big crash or some sort of incident, and we're up midway through the pack now, 8th position. And we're sort of just over halfway through the race, and yeah, just trying to keep our pace consistent and trying to catch the guys in front. Now I'm not sure how many of these guys have already pitted, but obviously I made my pit stop at the end of lap 2, so obviously for me I wasn't going to pit again, hoping that the tyres would make it, but there's someone in the pits there, so that promotes us up to P7. And now we're behind Jam My 21, I think his name is, in the Audi. Try not to get any penalties as well, because I didn't want to, especially if I was going to try and come through, I didn't want to get any penalties. Got forward to lap 28, and you see CJ's lapping us now. He's gone through. He was the leader, and at that time I was really starting to close down on Ollie and Matty. I didn't want to have to give CJ the position, because I had to sort of back off to let him through, which cost me a bit of time. But I was just thinking, wow, I can actually catch these guys in front. I don't know what's happened to them, whether they've had any incidents or whatever, but I seem to have made up quite a bit of time. I wasn't too sure sort of what lap times they were doing. A lot of the time in the race, I was just in the daze. I stopped sort of gap watching and just drove and just saw where I'd come out. I wasn't even looking at the gaps, and then once I saw the 2-second penalties in front of me, and I started to look down at the time, I was thinking, wait a minute, I'm not that far behind. If I could continue the pace I've got now, I'll probably catch him by the end. And as I could see they had a penalty, I sort of knew I didn't really have to overtake anybody. But as you can see now, onto lap 32, 8 laps to go, we almost stick it into the wall. For some reason the brakes really starting to fade on the car at the minute, and we're coming up to lap the Goonie, who I think had obviously you saw him earlier on when I went past him. I think he had a pretty big crash, and obviously on this game, if you've got a lot of damage to fix, you're going to be in the pits for a long time. So we're catching up to the Goonie. He lets us go, eased out the throttle, lets us go pretty easily, and then now we're almost on the back of Ollie and Matt, the Davis brothers. So yeah, this race sort of turning out not too bad. In 5th place at the moment, 7 laps to catch the 2 guys in front. All I need to do is get within 2 seconds, and that'll be me on the podium. So although it was a crazy bad start, if I could get a podium, it wouldn't be a disaster, to be honest. I'd be happy with that, to be quite honest. I'd be very happy with that. But at the moment we still got to close that gap, and as they're fighting it should make it a lot easier. But the weird thing was as soon as I sort of got in a position where I could close down with no cars in between us, the car just felt terrible. The brakes were starting to go off, the car wouldn't turn. You can see me struggling. I went from doing sort of 1:30s almost every lap, and then I was just sort of stuck doing like 32s and stuff. But I sort of tried to like refocus myself and just add a little bit more distance to my braking markers and just not push the car too hard, because it wasn't reacting in a positive way. So I thought if I can just gently sort of nurse the car for these last 7 laps and just keep the car in as much as I can, then I should still catch him. And you see I actually changed my camera view because I was using the wrong one. I use sort of this like an in-car helmet cam, and the camera sort of sways a little bit. That's actually the camera I prefer, so I switched to that view. For some reason it came to me in the race like, hold on a second, am I even using the right view? And then you see me switch it in the race, and then yeah, managed to sort of regain a little bit of my composure. I still wasn't lapping in the 1:30s, but you can see Matt and Ollie battling up ahead, so it was just down to me really to just close up to the back of them as much as I could. But with them going side by side, obviously it made it a lot easier for me. To be honest, I couldn't even believe I caught them because they were so far ahead at the end of lap 2. But it just shows when you're racing, if you just try and stay focused and just keep on plodding along, because there's always something inside me that says, you know what, after a first lap like that I can't even be arcs driving the rest of this race. But at the end of the day it's the first round, and you know, you never know what these points you might pick up could do for you at the end of the season. So yeah, just decided to push along. You can see the Goonie, he's right behind me, he's stuck with me. He's probably someone who probably also would have thought he had the pace to definitely finish in the top 4 positions, as he started in 2nd place. But obviously the race didn't go the way he wanted it either. But up ahead you see these guys sort of battling sort of sideways, wheel to wheel everywhere, and this is just helping us home in on them at the minute. And I believe it's Ollie trying to get past Matt and not the other way around. And they're going to go side by side through the SS section. I was thinking, wow. You can see one of them gets pushed across the gravel. I think it was Matt that goes across the gravel. And yeah, now that's definitely our opportunity. And now I thought I'm just going to stick with these guys. I'm not even going to try and pass. I'm not going to try anything like that. I'm just going to stick with them. Obviously I was aware at the chance that if we got to sort of the last lap and I was still there, the car, because AR teammates, the car that was at the back could sort of try and back me up. But then I would have went on the attack. But as long as they were battling this close, then I definitely would just sort of stick behind them. You can see Matt seems to be getting a run sort of everywhere. So it's literally making Ollie defend for every corner, and it's on Project Cars, it slows you down so much when you're in a battle, so much. You can see them wheel to wheel again. It was crazy. And for me, I was thinking, well, please, don't stack it in front of me or something like that. I've had enough of that today. But still pushing on. You can see the Goonie still with us, but he was a lap down, so he wasn't really trying to overtake me or anything like that. He was just sort of sticking to the back of us because he had the pace to. And yeah, for me now is sort of just focusing on keeping that gap to the lead Porsche at 2 seconds. And it was getting a bit tricky because the car, as I said, the car did not feel great at this time. And obviously the tyres are not that worn, but it just, I don't know whether I had a little bit more tyre wear than normal because of the incidents I had at the beginning, but it just did not feel great at all. And yeah, you can see right now we can't let the gap get any bigger, because it's at 1.9 I believe at this time. So one more tenth and then he would have enough to finish on the podium. So right now I'm actually on the podium. So after that crazy start we had, we actually managed to be on the podium at this moment in time. So just sort of got to just keep it in there. The Porsche is probably not the best track for the Porsche, definitely because there's a lot of understeer on throttle, and yeah, but for me the Lamborghini are quite nice through some of these corners, but I just seem to be struggling with braking. I don't know whether I put my brakes up too high. As you see, Matt gets a little bit of a tag slapper and goes off to the left, and that puts us up into 4th place. So now there was no sort of defense for Ollie. If I could catch up to him, there's no way I could be backed up. So I thought, now I just got to push a little bit harder, try and get to the back of him and just stay there. We've only got sort of 1.5 laps to go anyway. So barring any mistakes, I should be able to get the podium. Obviously CJ and Prenta, they're well down the road by this time. So yeah, the other guys in the Lambo done a really good job. I'm not sure where Archer was. I was expecting Archer definitely to be up there as well, but obviously he must have had, I'm pretty sure he would have had some incidents, because there was a lot of wheel banging and contact at the start of that race. So I noticed there was a lot of cars sort of sideways off the track and stuff like that. So yeah, not really what you want for a first lap of the elite tier. Definitely has to be looked into and just made sure that sort of thing just is not happening again, because it just doesn't look very good for the elite tier to have so many incidents on the first lap. But anyway, you can see I've managed to sort of just get onto the back of Ollie, and I'm just sort of just bracing myself for the end of the race now. I know there's not really much you can do to get away right now if I just keep the pace up. So I was just trying to make sure I play through all the exits of the corners, make sure I've got a good exit, and yeah, I should be home and dry. The car by this time, I thought, well, it's surviving. As you see, CJ has just finished the race, he's won the race, and as we come out of this corner, bang, we get that normal glitch we get from our wheel where the pause menu comes up, goes quickly to the share screen, and cannot tell you how fed up I am of this happening in a race. I cannot begin to tell you. It's such a weird thing. I don't understand it. I've even sort of thought about just buying a new wheelbase, because there's something going on with the T300. Why it seems to always happen on this game, and it's happened to me. I think this is the 4th time out of the last 5 races. I didn't actually release the last 2 or 3 races of last season because it happened to me in each of those. No, I don't think it happened to me at Zhuhai, but it happened to me at Bathurst, where I was going down the back straight and the pause menu came up and smashed me into one of the sort of guard posts down the back, which completely destroyed my car, so I didn't even bother upload that video. It happened to me at Long Beach while I was leading, winning that race by about 14 seconds. It happened to me also happened to me at Fuji as well, where I was in 2nd place right behind CJ, battling for the lead. And yeah, it's just happened to me again for this race when I was about to get a podium. So you see at the end of this race, I just pull over because I'm just completely pissed off. And yeah, it's just one of those things, man. I've been looking into maybe getting another wheel. I've spent quite a lot on the wheel that I've got at the moment, so I don't really want to spend any more money on a wheel. But it's a joke, to be honest with you. It's happened way too many times now, and it's just a lot of the time I'm going into races thinking, hold on a second. Like, as well as I qualify, as well as I do in the race, am I really going to get the rewards that I'm deserving of because of how the wheel reacts? But I don't know. But that's the final result anyway. End up losing the podium and dropping down to 5th place. So 5th place finish in the first race at Sonoma. And yeah, it wasn't the best, but next round is at Rapuna Park, and that should be a good race. Quite like the track, so we haven't really done it before in AOR, so it should be interesting. But anyway, it's Cryptic TMG. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to catch my videos first, and peace.